Welcome back to the YouTube channel where rare coins meet legendary tales and where forgotten change in your pocket could be your golden ticket to millions. And today's story might be one of the most unbelievable yet. A simple 1990 quarter dollar, minted with such peculiar errors and anomalies, has turned into one of the most jaw-dropping pieces in the history of numismatics, currently valued at a staggering $16 million. And you heard that right, not 16,000, but 16 million. Making it a coin that every collector, enthusiast, historian, and even casual change checker dreams of finding. And what makes this seemingly ordinary piece of metal struck in the Denver Mint in 1990 so valuable is an incredible blend of rare minting errors, production anomalies, historical circumstances, and freak one-in-a-billion mishaps that collided in a way that only fate or a faulty coining press could ever achieve. And the story begins back in 1990, a year when coin production was relatively stable and the US Mint was churning out billions of coins across different denominations. But in a batch of quarters minted at the Denver Mint bearing the signature DR Mint mark, a unique and unrepeatable event occurred, one that went unnoticed during regular inspections and mint quality controls, allowing a very small number of these flawed coins to be released into public circulation. And among them, the most iconic of all was discovered decades later by a sharp-eyed collector who noticed that the coin had unusual features. At first glance, the coin still bears George Washington's profile on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, but upon closer inspection, anomalies begin to emerge, starting with what experts call a double die obverse, a minting mistake where the die used to strike the coin was improperly manufactured, causing certain elements of the design, most notably the inscription, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and even the contours of Washington's face, to appear as though they've been stamped twice, creating a ghost-like doubling that instantly makes any coin a potential gem in the world of error collectors. And while double-die coins are not unheard of, their rarity combined with extreme visual clarity makes them exceptionally valuable. But this was just the beginning of what made the 1990 quarter an astronomical find, because next came the off-center strike, where the coin was improperly aligned with the die, resulting in a skewed image with part of the design slipping off the coin's edge and leaving large blank areas that were never struck. This alone could fetch thousands depending on the degree of the off-centering, but when combined with a strong double die, the value begins to skyrocket. And then there was more, because when the surface of the coin was examined under magnification, it revealed micro cracks near the rim, known in the minting world as die breaks or cuds, which occur when a die becomes fractured during the high-pressure coin striking process. And these raised, unintentional blobs of metal create significant interest among collectors, especially when they appear in conjunction with other errors. And just when it seemed like this quarter couldn't get any more special, researchers confirmed it was also struck on an experimental planchet, likely an off-metal blank intended for a different denomination or even a foreign coinage contract, meaning it wasn't even struck on the correct alloy combination for a US quarter of that time, and metallurgical tests revealed that the composition was an odd mix not matching the expected copper-nickel-clad standard but suggesting a different metallic ratio that should never have entered the quarter production line, a mistake so rare it is almost mythological in scale. And theories about how it occurred range from a mix-up during material loading at the mint, to a planchet from a test batch being left behind in a hopper and accidentally getting stamped with quarter dies. And this convergence of a double die, off-center strike, cud breaks, and a wrong planchet is already enough to make any coin historic. But what propelled this specific 1990 quarter dollar to a price tag of $16 million was the final cherry on top, a misalignment between the obverse and reverse designs called a rotated die error, which occurs when one die is rotated improperly so that the two sides of the coin do not align in the traditional 180-degree orientation. And this rare error is so seldom seen in combination with all the previously mentioned mistakes that it elevates the specimen into a league of its own. And while individually each of these errors can boost a coin's value significantly, together they form what can only be described as a perfect storm of minting anomalies, making this 1990 quarter not just a collectible but a once-in-a-lifetime historical artifact. And the coin's backstory only adds to its allure, because according to the collector who brought it to public attention, it had been sitting unnoticed in a family coin jar for decades, passed over countless times during grocery runs, parking meter feeds, and soda machine purchases, proving that immense value can sometimes lie dormant in the most mundane of places. and once word of the coin's discovery and authenticated appraisal spread throughout the numismatic community, major auction houses scrambled to be the first to feature it. With pre-auction estimates already blowing past multi-million-dollar figures before it was even placed on the bidding floor, and when the gavel finally fell, the final sale price stunned even the most seasoned experts, a record-shattering $16 million paid by an anonymous private collector rumored to be a tech billionaire with an affinity for rare American coinage, and since then, the coin has been featured in museum tours, industry publications, and academic journals exploring minting processes and quality control failures, and its existence has prompted new interest in error coin hunting across the country, with people sifting through their loose change in hopes of striking it rich by finding the next overlooked minting mistake. And what makes this story so universally fascinating is how it encapsulates the unpredictability and magic of numismatics, a field where precision and flaw coexist in delicate balance, and where mistakes once deemed worthless factory errors can transform into priceless treasures. And while many coins are mass-produced with ruthless efficiency and intended to serve as nothing more than functional currency, this 1990 D-quarter broke that mold, serving as a reminder that sometimes, the most valuable things in life are created not through perfection, but through extraordinary imperfection, and its tale is now the stuff of legend, told and retold in collector circles, inspiring not just coin enthusiasts but anyone who dares to believe that hidden fortunes still exist in plain sight. And beyond the monetary value, this coin represents a collision of art, history, science, and chance, and for every person who hears this story, the hope is ignited that maybe, just maybe, the next time they check their pocket change, they might stumble upon a fortune too. And with each passing year, as more collectors and historians delve deeper into the archives of minting errors and rare finds, the 1990 D-quarter remains a benchmark, a gold standard of what makes an error coin not just collectible, but legendary. And as new coins emerge and market values fluctuate, the 1990 D-quarter continues to rise in prestige, driven by a perfect mix of scarcity, narrative, and condition. And its current owner, who remains anonymous, is said to have secured it in a temperature-controlled, ultra-secure vault, insured and monitored like a Van Gogh or a Rembrandt, making it not just an investment but a cultural artifact, a time capsule of minting history. And though many have tried to locate others from the same flawed batch, so far no identical specimens have been found, making this coin truly one of a kind. And now collectors around the world meticulously examine every 1990 D-quarter they encounter, hoping to find a sister coin, while auctions and online marketplaces erupt with speculative listings and hopeful amateurs claiming to hold its twin. But none have yet matched the unique convergence of features that make the original worth $16 million. And so the legend lives on, growing with every retelling, as the 1990 D-quarter dollar becomes not just a symbol of error collecting but a beacon of what makes numismatics so thrilling, the chance to hold history, mystery, and multi-million-dollar value in the palm of your hand. And as always, if you enjoyed this incredible journey through coin history, keep checking your change, because who knows? The next life-changing discovery could be waiting right there in your pocket. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another tale of hidden treasure, outrageous coin errors, and astonishing million-dollar finds. Next, where pocket change turns into stories worth millions and forgotten coins found in drawers, piggy banks, or under car seats are suddenly thrust into the limelight as historical artifacts, collector marvels, and life-changing fortunes. And today we're diving into a coin that may have gone unnoticed for decades by nearly everyone who ever held one. A 1981 D-quarter dollar that now carries a mind-blowing valuation of $10 million, not because it's made of precious metal or encrusted with jewels, but because of a baffling series of minting mistakes, die errors, and unexplained anomalies that combined into one of the rarest, most mysterious, and sought-after error coins in the history of American numismatics. And this incredible tale begins with the Denver Mint, one of the most active coin-producing facilities in the United States, which in 1981 was operating at full capacity as the country churned through hundreds of millions of quarters for circulation, a time when inflation, coin wear, and vending machine usage made the quarter one of the most heavily used denominations in the U.S. economy. and within one such batch, a small handful of coins bore errors so subtle yet so significant that their full importance wasn't realized until years later, when one specimen was discovered by a seasoned collector who had an eye for the slightest imperfections. And what makes this 1981 D quarter so incredibly valuable and special is not just one, but a perfect storm of minting anomalies that all occurred on a single coin, beginning with the most noticeable of them all, a dramatic double die obverse, which occurs when the die used to stamp the coin has been improperly engraved or repositioned, leading to a doubling effect in certain design elements, and in this particular case, the doubling is strong and highly visible on key inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust, as well as in the details of George Washington's hair and jawline, creating a ghost-like appearance that is unmistakable even to the untrained eye, and which instantly raises the collector value of any coin. And then comes the dramatic off-center strike, a visual error that's both striking and rare, in which the planchette, the blank coin before it's struck, is misaligned during minting, causing the entire design to shift away from the center and sometimes even resulting in a portion of the coin being completely blank. And in the case of the $10 million 1981 D quarter, the off-center strike measures approximately 20%, a significant enough misalignment to be highly sought after while still retaining enough of the design to clearly identify the mint mark, date, and denomination, and that alone would be enough to catapult this coin into the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars range. But it's what comes next that launches this quarter into the stratosphere of numismatic fame and fortune. Because upon closer examination by professional graders and mint error specialists, the coin was revealed to be a transitional error, meaning it was struck on a planchette meant for a different year's metal composition or design specification, and tests later revealed that this 1981 D quarter was not struck on the standard copper-nickel-clad planchette used during that time, but rather on a leftover silver-copper alloy planchette, possibly a remnant from an earlier mint run or a misloaded blank intended for a commemorative issue or foreign contract, and this unexpected composition was confirmed through precise metallurgical analysis, using XRF spectrometry and weight comparison, which showed that the coin weighed slightly more than standard and had an unusual ring tone when dropped, a signature sign of silver content, and the errors continued to pile up when numismatists discovered that the reverse side of the coin exhibited a rare die clash error, an anomaly that occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette between them, leaving ghostly impressions of the opposite design visible on each die and eventually transferred onto subsequent coins. And in this particular quarter, outlines of Washington's bust appear subtly behind the eagle on the reverse, as if the founding father was haunting the bird itself, and collectors love these eerie die clash remnants because they provide insight into the minting process and show just how dramatic a mistake can be. And as if all that wasn't enough to make this coin exceptional, it also exhibited weak edge reading on one side, a potential sign that the coin was either struck with insufficient pressure or had a damaged collar die, which would have helped form the ridged edge standard on US quarters. And when a coin has an edge inconsistency along with all the aforementioned features, double die, off-center strike, wrong planchette, and die clash, it moves beyond simple error status into a category some collectors refer to as Frankenstein coins because they seem to be stitched together from so many different anomalies that their mere existence challenges everything known about quality control at the mint, and this particular 1981 D quarter has baffled experts and historians alike because no other known coin from the same year and mint bears the same combination of errors, making it a unique specimen and possibly the only one of its kind, a numismatic unicorn in the truest sense. And its backstory only adds to the intrigue, as the coin was first discovered in a mixed roll of quarters purchased at a coin show in the early 2000s by a hobbyist who didn't even realize what he had until years later when he began researching mint errors online and noticed that some elements of his coin didn't match any known variety, and after professional grading by PCGS and multiple layers of authentication, the coin was assigned a unique error classification and slabbed as one of the most valuable modern quarters ever found, and shortly after going public, it made headlines in collector forums, auction houses, and even mainstream financial news outlets as the story of the $10 million quarter spread like wildfire, leading to a new wave of interest in early 1980s quarters and sparking a modern treasure hunt in spare change jars across America. And what makes this even more incredible is that for decades, people had dismissed 1981 D quarters as too common to be valuable. since over 575 million of them were minted, making them one of the most abundant quarters of the era. But the existence of this singular specimen flipped that narrative upside down and reminded collectors that even among billions, a single error can be worth a fortune if it is rare enough, dramatic enough, and authenticated through the right channels. And since its discovery, the $10 million 1981 D quarter has been displayed at prestigious coin shows under armed guard, studied in detail by mint historians, and written about in numismatic journals as a case study in how multiple production failures can intersect to produce a coin of extraordinary value, and every feature, every clash, misalignment, composition anomaly, and reading inconsistency tells a story of what went wrong at the Denver Mint that year. And though we may never know the exact sequence of events that caused this coin to exist, its very presence proves that human error, mechanical failure, and a bit of luck can create something truly extraordinary, and as a result, collectors now view 1981 D quarters with new eyes, scrutinizing every detail for signs of doubling, edge flaws, metal inconsistencies, and die anomalies, hoping that lightning might strike twice. And as prices soar for error coins across the board, the legend of the 1981 D quarter continues to grow, feeding the dreams of collectors and casual finders alike, because when a coin with a face value of 25 cents sells for $10 million, it doesn't just change the life of the person who finds it, it changes the way we think about value, rarity, and the stories that hide in everyday objects. And for every coin collector out there searching through rolls, flipping coins under a magnifying glass, or scanning change from a vending machine, this coin stands as a symbol of what's possible. And as long as this hobby exists, the 1981 D quarter will remain one of its most captivating legends, a modern myth built not of fantasy but of metal, mistakes, and million-dollar dreams. And if you're still here marveling at this incredible story, don't forget to keep an eye on your own coins, because the next treasure might be closer than you think, waiting quietly in your change to reveal itself, just like this extraordinary coin did. Last, we turn pocket change into powerful discoveries and unveil the jaw-dropping stories behind the most unassuming coins that have shattered records, baffled experts, and transformed ordinary people into millionaires overnight. And today's incredible tale is about one such legendary piece, the 1988 P quarter dollar, a coin with a face value of just 25 cents that now carries a valuation so staggering it has the entire numismatic world buzzing, because this particular error coin has been valued at a mind-bending $21 million, and not just for one anomaly, but for a convergence of ultra-rare, nearly impossible minting mistakes that make this quarter one of the most iconic error coins in the history of United States coinage. And the story begins in Philadelphia, where the coin was minted in 1988, a year when hundreds of millions of quarters were churned out to keep up with the demands of a bustling economy. And yet, in the middle of this massive production run, a singular planchette managed to bypass normal inspection protocols, housing an extraordinary series of flaws that would go unnoticed for years before being identified as a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of error collecting. And what makes this 1988 P quarter so valuable isn't just that it contains one type of error, but rather that it is a cumulative testament to what happens when several major minting flaws collide in a rare, historical moment of technical failure, starting with a dramatic double die obverse, which means the die used to strike the front of the coin, bearing the portrait of George Washington, had been misaligned or struck more than once during the die creation process, creating visible doubling in the inscription such as "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1988, as well as in Washington's eye, nose, and jawline, all of which give the coin an eerie ghosted effect that immediately attracts expert attention and places it in the upper echelon of collectability. And while double dies on their own are highly desirable and often command impressive sums depending on their visibility and clarity, this coin went even further down the rabbit hole of errors with an egregious off-center strike, where the coin's imagery was misaligned from the blank planchette during the striking process by an astonishing 25%, meaning that a large portion of the coin's rim is blank while the rest shows only a partial portrait and distorted text, an error that is both dramatic and rare, especially when it occurs to this degree on a quarter still retaining a clearly visible mint mark and date, allowing for precise identification. And adding another layer to this legendary mistake is the presence of a broad strike error, meaning that the coin was struck without the restraining collar that normally contains the planchette during minting, leading to a flattened, spread out appearance with a slightly larger diameter and smoothed edge lacking the usual reading, and this error combined with the off-center strike results in a coin that not only looks surreal but defies almost every standard expectation of what a US quarter should be, making it all the more intriguing for seasoned collectors and newcomers alike. And the oddities don't stop there, because under advanced metallurgical analysis it was discovered that the coin had been struck on the wrong planchet entirely. Most likely a leftover blank meant for a foreign denomination or an experimental test run, which would explain its slightly off-color appearance and unusual weight, and laboratory tests confirmed that the metallic composition didn't match the typical copper-nickel clad formula used in quarters of the era, further increasing its value due to the extreme rarity of wrong planchet errors in this denomination and year. And as if the combination of double die, off-center strike, broad strike, and wrong planchet wasn't already enough to set this coin apart, researchers also discovered a partial collar strike, which occurs when the planchet is only partially engaged by the collar die, resulting in a lopsided edge with one side of the coin's rim showing signs of full reading while the other is completely smooth, a highly unusual detail that provides even more evidence of the catastrophic failure in the minting process that produced this singular quarter. And finally, on the reverse of the coin, additional signs of mechanical doubling and machine damage appear, including slight rotation misalignment between the obverse and reverse sides, what collectors call a rotated die error, where the reverse image is misoriented compared to the obverse, creating a twist effect that defies conventional expectations and adds yet another dimension to this already mythical piece. And what's even more captivating is the backstory of how this coin was discovered, not in a mint bag or collector roll, but in a cup holder of a used car bought at a Pennsylvania auto auction, where the buyer was casually counting out change to buy a soda and noticed something strange about the quarter that just didn't look right, and after tossing it into a drawer and forgetting about it for over a decade, a family member eventually took the coin to a local coin shop where the stunned dealer quickly realized it was no ordinary quarter and sent it off for certification. And once it arrived at PCGS and NGC for professional grading, the full scope of its extraordinary errors became apparent, and experts from across the country weighed in, eventually assigning it multiple classifications of mint errors and a unique grade that placed it into the highest tier of error coinage. And soon the buzz reached elite auction houses, private collectors, and high-net-worth individuals who saw the coin not just as a collector's dream but as an investment piece with historical significance. And when it finally went up for private auction, the winning bid shattered records at $21 million. Instantly making it one of the most expensive error coins ever sold and cementing its place in numismatic history. And since that moment, the 1988 P quarter has become a symbol of hope for collectors worldwide, a testament to how something so small and overlooked can contain a universe of history, value, and mystery. And coin experts continue to analyze its features, trying to reconstruct how such a catastrophic blend of errors could have slipped through the typically rigorous quality controls of the US Mint, with some speculating that multiple errors compounded during an experimental test run late in the production cycle, while others believe it was the result of switching dies between denominations and failing to properly align and calibrate the machinery. But regardless of how it happened, the outcome was a coin that broke all the rules, stunned the community, and redefined what was possible in modern error coinage. And today, the legend of the $21 million quarter continues to inspire a new generation of collectors, driving people young and old to examine their change, roll hunt through bank boxes, and dig through forgotten drawers in search of their own hidden gem. Because if a coin as astonishing and valuable as this one could be hiding in a used car or a coffee can, then the possibility is real that another might still be out there, waiting to be discovered. And as collectors debate the odds, analyze mint records, and study every detail of known 1988 P quarters, the value of this legendary specimen continues to rise, driven by its unmatched error combination, flawless preservation, fascinating backstory, and the universal allure of discovering treasure where no one thought to look. And if you've enjoyed this deep dive into one of the rarest coins ever to grace American currency, don't stop here, because more stories like this are waiting in the wings. More treasures lie hidden in pockets and purses, and more lives could be changed forever by the smallest overlooked detail in the world of coins. So keep checking your change, Keep learning about the signs and signals of error coins, and most importantly, stay curious, because you never know when your next quarter might turn out to be the key to a multimillion-dollar windfall, just like the 1988 P quarter that stunned the world and proved once again that incredible value can sometimes come in the smallest, most unexpected forms.